tanu, dere na tanu, dere na tanu, dere na tanu, dere na ta dare dani tanu, dere na tanu, dere na dere.
All right. Well, welcome to Dakshana. Great to be with you guys, and I'm very sorry with the pandemic. You missed 6 months, and but आपका makeup हो जाएगा. Don't worry about that. So, if you have a question for me, you can raise your hand, and just tell me your name and where you're from, and then you can ask your question. Is that okay? So go ahead. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, sir. I am Abhigyat from JNV Kottayam, sir. And my question is, sir, would you like to be immortal if someone finds elixir?
Okay, so you have to tell me your state as well.
Uttar Pradesh, sir.
Okay, all right. See, the best thing about life is death. And you may not think that dying is so good, but if people lived for a very long time, let's say, for example, instead of living 70, 80 years, we lived for 1,000 years, for example. So if that were to happen, or if we live for 2,000 years, the world will look very different. And it will create a problem. The big problem it would create is that all the resources of the world will get concentrated in the hands of very few people. And because what happens is that in a lifetime, some people are really good at making money and gathering assets. They will keep gathering assets. So right now what happens is you become an adult in your 20s and you are productive till you are 60 or 70. So you have 40, 50 years to accumulate assets. But then what happens is that when you die, basically you cannot take anything. You can't even take a pin, right? So everything has to be left behind. And when everything is left behind, it is basically recycled, right? Now it could go to your children, some of it could go to the government, or it could go to society, but basically it gets spread out, right? And then again, when those people die, and the people it goes to may not be as good as you are in accumulating. So they may not do as well. So over time, what will happen is those resources will go back to society. But if someone lives for 1,000 years or 10,000 years, then they will accumulate for a very long period of time. And so a few humans will be very smart about doing that, and they will end up controlling large portions of the resources. And so, like, you know, if you there's a country which was formed after the Soviet Union broke up called Kazakhstan. You may have heard of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is a very big country. It's bigger than all of Europe, but only 18 million people. So they're not many people, but the land area is very large. It's bigger than India. And when the country was formed, everything used to be owned by the government because it was a communist country, you know, part of Russia. But after it was formed, they privatized some assets, put it in private hands, but it was done very poorly. So 162 people in Kazakhstan control more than 50% of all the wealth in the country. So we have 18 million people. 17.99 million don't have much. And a small number, 162, and it's a very wealthy country. It's a rich country. So the per capita GDP of Kazakhstan, do we have a marker? Oh, there. So if you can give that to me. So the population of Kazakhstan is 18 million, and I'll write it American style with the commas. The per capita income is $10,000 per person. It's a very rich country. India per capita is less than 2,000. Okay? So if I take this and multiply it, you'll get 180 billion. Okay? And इसको divide by 2 कर दो, तो 90 billion हो गया. And if we divide this by 162, what is that number? आप तो मैथ में इतने उस्ताद हो, ये तो अपने सर में ही कर सकते हो. What do you say? So, what is this number if we divide by 100? So, दो zero निकल जाएंगे, so it will be, we can, let me just get this out here for a second. So, it will take out 2 zeros if it's 100, and that's going to be 900 million. Right? Per person. If it was divided by 100. If we divide by 200, then this will be 450, right? So what is it when we divide by 162? Like 700, 650, 600, something like that. It's a large number. Each of those people has $450 million. अगर इसको रुपीस में चाहिए तो 75 से मल्टीप्लाई कर लो. तो अगर 450 मिलियन को 100 से मल्टीप्लाई करें, मोटा हिसाब लगा लें, तो और 2 ज़ीरो आ जाएंगे. So this would be the money in Indian rupees per person, approximately. Or maybe you can make it a little bit less because it's 75, you'd make it about 350. Right? And so basically, no, actually it's higher because it's going the other way. So it's closer to 550. So it's like, let me just do this correctly. 550, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then I got 2 more zeros. So 55. So it is 55 billion rupees. Very big number per person. That's a problem. So recently in Kazakhstan, what happened is they raised the tax on petrol. Petrol per tax बढ़ा दिया. So the 17.99 million people are saying, ये जो 162 लोग हैं, इनके पास already इतना पैसा है, common person से और पैसा ले रहे हैं. So there were riots in the streets. And they said, we are going to throw all you guys out. And immediately 5 minutes later, the government said, there is no tax increase. They said, we don't care about that. We still want to take you guys out. So now the government is trying to put taxes on the rich people. And they called all the rich people and said, tum charity shuru karo, tum daan karo, nahi to tum sabko nikal denge ye log. To tum apna thoda paisa laga ke sudhar karo. So anyway, the thing is that if we were to basically not die, then this would happen all over the world. That the wealth would get more and more concentrated, and then So when you ask me personally, if I knew that I was going to live even for 200 years, right? Let's say I knew I was going to live for 200 years, I would not have started Dakshana, right? Dakshana started when I was 42 years old, right? The reason I started Dakshana when I was 42 years old is because, do you know the date I'm going to die? When am I going to die? Please raise your hand. Every time I meet the Dakshana scholars, I tell them the date I'm going to die. So the date I'm going to die is June 11, 2044. तो अभी कितने साल रह गए हैं? अभी 2022 तो हो गया है, 2 साल तो पैंडेमिक ने उड़ा दिए. Okay, so there are 22 years left. 22 years and 4 months, something like that. Okay. Please make sure you come to the funeral. So basically, if I was going to die in 2144, right? Then I would not have started Dakshana. जल्दी क्या है? अभी तो 100-150 साल पड़े हैं. So there is no hurry to do anything. So the reason I started when I was 42 years old is because I knew I have only 38 years left. And I knew that in India to start something like a charity, 10-15 saal to you will chucky piso. And you may not even know what you're doing. So I was not even sure when we started whether the program will work or not. So I needed time. I said, okay, 10 saal agar chale gaye to just get the program correctly done, then I still have about 25 years to do that. And so basically, the reason I started Dakshana is that I can't take a pin with me, right? Abhi, when I'm going to die in June 11, 2044, I cannot take anything with me. Everything has to be left here. And the second thing is that it is a negative. It is going to affect my children's life negatively if I give them all the money. So my life was a lot of fun because I started from zero, right? It was fun to go through the journey and build and all that. अभी जो वो काज़ाकिस्तान के 162 लोग हैं, उनके जो बच्चे हैं, क्या ज़िंदगी है? 12-1 बजे उठेंगे, फिर बहुत सारा खाना खाएंगे, फिर they will have a lot of alcohol, then they will be smoking, they will be overweight, and then they will not do any work, and then in the night they'll be drunk and they'll go to sleep. Next day again they'll wake up at 1 or 2 o'clock. Is that a good life? Do you want that life? No. It's a good life. So basically, if I were to give my kids all the money, I think it would have a negative impact on their life. And neither of them is really interested in the money. They want to do their own thing. They are very happy doing their own thing. So then the only thing to do is to give it back to society and kind of take it from there. So that is why I don't think living forever is that exciting. So it's okay. अगर 2044 के बाद कुछ 5-10 साल extra मिल गए by some chance, then that's a big bonus. That'll be great. But I'm not counting on that. So next question.
I am Abhijit Lakra from JNV Simdega, Jharkhand. And my question is, in your investing career, what were the problems you have faced and how did you deal with those problems? And share your experiences in your investment life and how we can also start investment. Thank you, sir.
I'll try to answer the context, answer the question from the context of you guys. So basically, anytime you are going through life, you will face adversity. Do you know what adversity is? Adversity means problems. So, like some of you may not get a seat at IIT, for example. Or you may not even get a seat at NIT, for example. So, that is a problem, right? But every time you encounter a problem, it is a blessing. So, what I have found in my life is that each time there was some problem, some adversity, maybe we should make it just one fan. Yeah. Yeah, I think the noise is there. Let's just shut both the fans off. So basically, what I found is every time there was a problem and it caused some issue, then basically the idea was that you could not tell at that time, but overcoming that problem led to a lot of, you can shut both the fans. So led to basically a lot of growth and development. And I have repeatedly found this to be true, that some problem hit, and then I'm trying to understand that problem, and I'm trying to learn from that problem so I don't face the same issue again. And all of those things in the end, when I looked back, they were a big blessing for me. So, like for example, I'll give you an example. In 99, 2000, there was a dot-com bubble. So this was probably before all of you were born. But at that time, a lot of internet companies got created with the name of the company was some.com, pets.com, chemdex.com, and cars.com, etc. And people thought that whole world will change with the internet, and all these internet companies will control everything. So everyone was investing in these businesses. And what ended up happening is that the whole thing blew up in March 2000, and 98% of those businesses went to zero. They all disappeared. And we saw the same thing happen. So this happened several times in human history. In 1920s, in the US, there was a big boom of creating car companies. So at that time, people thought that a lot of roads will get built and a lot of people will buy cars and car business will boom a lot. All those things were correct. And so we had something like, I think, 300 plus car companies that got formed at that time in between, let's say, 1915 and 1925. 300 or 400 companies got formed. And then by 1932, there were 3 companies left. And those 3 companies in the US are Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. Till very recently, it just stayed those 3 companies. And so most of these companies disappeared. They went to zero. So they were right that the industry would grow a lot. And they were right that people would buy a lot of cars. But what ended up happening is people bought all the cars only from these companies. And even if you look at India, cars are growing a lot. People are buying a lot of cars. 50% of all the cars sold in India is only by one company. What's the name of that company? No, Maruti. Maruti has #1 market share, 50%. Which is number 2? Hyundai. Hyundai is number 2. By the time you get to the third or fourth car company, 95% of the market is covered. So a lot of car companies are in India, but most of them have no market share, and they are losing money. Only 2 or 3 companies are there, and that's the same thing that happened in the US. So this happened in the 1920s with car companies, where people thought cars will grow a lot, roads will get built, people will buy a lot of cars, I can make a lot of money. It was not true. Then in 1960s, there was a electronics boom. So people thought all these devices will get semiconductor chips inside them, and everything will get automated. So like washing machines, dishwasher, microwave oven, different things in the home, refrigerators and all that, they are all using electronics. So they thought electronics will grow a lot. And there were thousands of companies formed. And they had names like, like Besttronics or Computech. They had names like that, right? They all disappeared. Only like maybe 5 or 10 of them stayed. So again, people put a lot of money and it didn't work. And then in 2000, we had .com boom. And they were right, the internet was a very big deal. It was going to transform things. Many things were going to change. So lots of businesses got formed. And 97, 98% of them disappeared. So in 1999, I thought this is going to be the way to make money. And I also created a .com. And I invested my money in that. And I had put about, the company I had, it invested about $4.5 million in this .com. And इसमें से 2.2 million was my own money, and 2.3 million was from investors who thought I will do well. They gave me money to invest. So this went to zero. Gone. Right? Because same thing like what happened before is basically it didn't work. And because I had formed this .com and I could see what was happening a little bit before, so this was a very difficult time because it was a big amount of money that was gone. But then what happened is that in 2000, I actually started investing in different companies in the stock market. And I already had that experience that ये internet companies से कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. I already lost my money. So in 1999, I started a new business which was called Pabrai Funds. And Pabrai Funds, basically, I knew that I should not invest in the .com business because I had seen what was happening. I could see a little bit, maybe 3 months before what others could see because I had been in that business. And so this entity was able to completely sidestep all of those problems, and this did really well. And eventually this made me more than $100 million. So there was pain earlier where 2-3 million was lost and the investors lost some money, but there were lessons I learned, right? And then in about 10 years, those lessons paid 20 times what I had lost because I learned what to do and what not to do. So we cannot see it at the time that the problem is happening. So when you don't get into IIT, for example, you will think life बेकार है, अब क्या करेंगे? But that's not the way life is. One door closes, 3 other doors open. So it's only when you look back you can tell that something happened that was interesting or better. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind, that you just keep doing the best you can, keep learning, and over time it'll be fine. Next question.
I'm Aditya Kumar from JNV Ranchi, Jharkhand. Sir, I want to know that what inspired you to build Dakshana Foundation?
Okay. Thank you for asking the question. दक्षिणा इसलिए बनाया कि हम immortal नहीं हैं. I already told you, if I was going to be immortal, there's no reason to create Dakshana. Just enjoy life, right? But because I'm going to die, I had to do some planning कि क्या होने वाला है. And what I wanted to do, so giving money away is much harder than making money. It's not easy to give money away where it goes for a good cause. And one of the reasons why giving money away is difficult is because most of the time it's very hard to measure the results. Okay? And so that creates a problem in trying to figure out what way to give money. So let's say, for example, there are some very poor people outside a mandir who are waiting that somebody will feed them, for example. And let's say I go outside that mandir and I feed those people. So it will cost some money to feed those people. Those people got some benefit. But let's say, for example, there is a cancer hospital and they don't have equipment and they don't have doctors. And I put some money into that hospital to have better equipment and better doctors. So people are not dying of cancer. So these are two different programs, right? One is feeding people in a temple, outside temple, who are poor and don't have food. The other is the cancer hospital. The benefit to society in each case is different. But it is not clear which one is better for society. Which one is better for society? So you are saying cancer is better. But let's say, for example, it costs 10 crores to get the cancer hospital to become better. And let's say the cost of one meal for one person is 10 rupees, for example, okay? So आप 1 crore लोगों को खाना खिला सकते हो. And the 10 crores may help 500 people not die. Which is better? 1 crore meals or 500 people who didn't die? The answer is very difficult, right? Because which one, abhi, the other problem that comes up with the people who are sitting there who you're feeding, they may be able-bodied. They may be able to work. But कोई उनको 3 meal दे रहा है दिन में तो क्यों जाके काम करे? Right? So now you have created a problem. Instead of helping those people, you are actually hurting them because you are now giving, some of them cannot work. They may have some issues, they cannot get job, whatever, some problem is there. But some of them could work. But if he's just sitting in temple and getting 3 meals from some rich person, why work? Just come there, get your meal, then go. So these become really difficult in terms of understanding which program has the highest benefit. So in my case, I had a cousin, and my cousin had finished BCom in Mumbai. At that time, I had a IT company. I had software people working for me and all that. And I knew that if you have skills in software, you can get job. But if you have some BCom degree somewhere, nobody's going to hire you. That is not useful. So I contacted a friend of mine in Delhi who had a very small software company. Like they were only 3-4 people. So I told him, I said, listen, I have my cousin. Can you just let him come work at your company? Don't pay him. Just usko kaam karne do. Because he will build some skills, right? So they said, if your cousin can come with one desk, one chair, and one computer, we will take him with no pay. I said, okay, no problem. They said, and one more rule. He can use the computer for 8 hours, but we will use it for the other 16 hours. I said, no problem. So unko, they were very tight on money. They needed computer time. And computers at that time were expensive. So they said, यहाँ पर से free computer मिल रहा है, इधर से ले लेते हैं free computer. And वो उसको थोड़ा training उसको काम ऐरा गैरा काम करवा लेंगे, हमारा काम हो जाएगा, and it's all okay, right? So I said, fine, I'm going to send him with a desk, chair, and a computer, and you don't pay him. So I told my uncle and aunt to move him to Delhi, and he stayed with my parents. So he has no rent, he's just staying with my parents. And I told him to join NIIT, start taking some programming course and all that. And I said, tum classes jao. And wahan par, the name of the company was Magic Software. You go to Magic Software and you work. 8 hours a day you work there, take your classes. And 1 साल के बाद देखेंगे क्या हो रहा है, 1-2 साल के बाद. So he started working there, and because he was building some skills, they started giving him some work to do, and they were using the computer 16 hours, so they were also happy, everyone was happy. And 1.5 साल के बाद, he went back to Mumbai, and he has 20 job offers. Because in that small company, he learned a lot, because they have to do everything, and they're working very hard. And he had built up very leading edge skills. So I thought to myself, 1.5 years ago, nobody's willing to hire this guy. From their point of view, he's useless. What was the cost? I said, cost like, maybe uska kharcha 5-10 हज़ार होएगा महीने का. At that time, 30 years back, 5,000 is a lot of money. Maybe it was even like 2,000-3,000 rupees. It was not much. Rent तो free था. वो मेरा जो computer था, वो 1.5 साल के बाद it still had value. I gifted him that computer. I said, you enjoy with your computer. So I said, the whole thing maybe cost 1 lakh or something, if I include the cost of the computer. But he is now making more than that in a year, right? So I could see how much money went in, and I could see and now he is in the UK, he lives in London, and he makes a lot of money. He's done really well. So I had this experience in early 90s. So I knew that education se bahut farak padta hai. And when in 2006, all of you have heard of Anand Kumar, aapke Bihar ke hero. So I read an article in 2006 which was describing what Anand Kumar was doing, where he's taking these 30 students and his mother is cooking for them, and they're giving 8-9 months of coaching, and then most of them are going to IIT. So मैंने analyze किया कि उस time पे it was costing him about 30,000-40,000 rupees per student, because he had rented a place where they were staying. His mother was cooking for them, and he is doing the math tutoring, and he had hired the physics chemistry faculty. So all in, it was costing him about 10 lakhs per year. But he also had a coaching business which was making money. So udhar maybe 20-30 lakhs was coming. He was putting 10 lakhs into this. So model was running well. So I said, ये आनंद कुमार 30-40 हज़ार एक लड़के पे खर्च कर रहा है, लड़के या लड़की पे. Once that person goes to IIT and graduates, the salary is very high. And I said this, and it was a transformation like what I had seen with my cousin. So with my cousin, I only had done for one person and someone who was my relative. Anand was doing it for little broader. So I contacted him. I said, I would like to support you. आप 30 क्यों कर रहे हो? 300 करो. And जो आपका 30,000 है, I can give you the money for 100. Right? 30,000 and 100 is 30 lakhs a year. I said, I'll give you 30 lakhs a year. Increase it to 300. So he replied saying, thank you very much, but we don't take outside money. Warm regards. So then I realized that ऐसे दाल नहीं बनने वाली है. I said, जाके मिलते हैं आनंद को, face to face, और फिर बात करेंगे. तो मैंने फिर से ईमेल दिया कि मैं बिहार आ रहा हूँ, पटना आ रहा हूँ, can we meet? He said, ये तो बहुत अच्छी बात है कि आप आ रहे हैं, स्वागत है आपका, आइए. So March 2007, I went and met him. And I took some bribe for him. You know, थोड़ी रिश्वत दे देंगे तो काम हो जाता है ना, थोड़ी रिश्वत देने से. So I took 30 t-shirts for his students saying Super 30. I took some caps and different things. I said, this is for your students. He said, ये तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है, आप खुद दे दीजिए बच्चों को. Then I again had tea with him and I said, आप क्यों नहीं expand करते हो program? और भला होएगा. मैं तो आपको कुछ बोलने वाला नहीं हूँ कैसे करना है नहीं करना है. You run it the way you want. Again he said, I don't want outside money. So my plan failed. Right? So then I thought, I asked him, listen, do you have any objection if I copy your program? He said, ये तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है, हम आपकी मदद करेंगे. पूरा ऐसे पूरा टोपा कर लें? He said, हाँ पूरा टोपा कर लो. I said, ठीक है. So then I said, ये इसका आइडिया तो अच्छा है, लेकिन हेडस्ट्रॉन्ग आदमी है, सुनना नहीं चाहता है. So I said, ठीक है, हम खुद अपनी कोशिश कर लेंगे ये करने के लिए. So I said, okay, we will set up a program like his. Now, I don't know how to teach math. He knows how to teach math. But I said, he doesn't know chemistry and physics. He has hired teachers to do that. So I can hire physics, chemistry, math teachers. And I said, I don't even need to hire a physics, chemistry, math teacher. I said, if I identify some poor kid, I'll just send him to Quota. Quota में hostels हैं, coaching institute है, and I said I can just send them to Bansal or Resonance or one of those places, and उनकी fees दे दो. So I said कुछ करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. I don't even need to hire a physics person or anything. I just have to identify someone who is poor and smart, send them to Quota, वहाँ पर hostel है, and वहाँ पर coaching institute है, उनको पैसे दे दो, खत्म हो गई बात. It's more expensive than 30,000 that Anand was spending. It would cost probably 1 or 2 lakhs to do all that way. But there's no problem, you can do that. So when Dakshana first started, I hired a guy in IIT guy he was in Bangalore, he was 60 years old. I said, तुम सब coaching institutes में जाओ, कोटा में, and उनको बोलो कि if people come to you, but they cannot pay the fees, but they are clearing your test, we will pay your fee. So the Quota people said, कोई पागल NRI कैलिफोर्निया से पैसे दे रहा है, ले लो पैसे, right? हमारा क्या जाता है? So they would call and say, ये कुछ लोग आए हैं हमारे कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट में, वो टेस्ट वेस्ट क्लियर कर लिया लेकिन पैसे नहीं हैं. So I told them, yeah, send them to the coaching institute and we'll pay the money. So we got the first like 6-7 scholars, not from JNV, just from random places, right? And I was telling the guy, we need to scale this because Anand had a brand. 10,000 people are coming to take his test every year. Dakshana has no brand. Dakshana is unknown. So people don't even know that I'm willing to provide this service because they don't know. You know, all over India, nobody knows this is available. Only the few coaching institutes know that. So you had to actually come to Quota, take the test, and then maybe we could do something. But when he was meeting all the coaching institutes, they were telling him, 2-3 people told him, you should go look at Navodaya system. तो जब 2-3 लोगों ने बोला Navodaya system, this guy said, okay, let me go find out what this Navodaya system is. So he went to Delhi, arranged a meeting with the head of academics at Navodaya, and they had a problem. So Navodaya had a problem at that time, which is still a problem for them, कि बच्चे smart थे, लेकिन 12th के बाद कुछ नहीं था. Right? So once you finish 12th standard in Jharkhand or wherever, what are you going to do? You can just go to some local college or something. Doesn't matter how smart. You cannot go to IIT. You had no coaching, you don't understand, nothing is not going to happen, right? So हमने नवोदय को बोला कि हम 11th 12th जैसे आपका प्रोग्राम चल रहा है यहाँ पर, you will move the kids to one of 8 locations in India. We will select the kids and then we'll provide the faculty. Exactly what is happening at Kottayam now, right? And we'll pay all the cost. So for them, the problem was that Dakshana is completely unknown, right? Some random guy in US doing something, he has no track record, no history, no nothing. But they have no choice. Who else is giving them this offer? Nobody else. So they signed an MOU with us and we started working, right? And what I realized is that, so हर साल जो JNV ST test होता है 5th standard में, there are about 30-40 lakh students all over India who take that test. Okay? So here's what happens. So let's say 40 lakh students take the test. Okay? Now there are 600 JNVs and each one, let's say, has 80 seats, right? 48,000, right? All of India, you have 48,000 seats. Some have 40 seats, but मोटा हिसाब कर रहे हैं हम. तो ये 40th, अभी देखो हम जब मैथ करते हैं ना, unlike your JEE people, we make the math easy, थोड़ा चीटिंग करके इसको 48 lakhs बना देते हैं ताकि ज़्यादा सोचना नहीं पड़े, right? तो if 48 lakhs goes to 48,000, what is the ratio? Basically 1 out of 100, right? So 1% of the people who apply are selected, right? 1%. अभी ये 48,000 जब 10th standard में आ जाते हैं तो इसको split हो जाता है. Maybe 24,000 may go to science, 24,000 may go to, what is the ratio of people going to science and versus others in JNV? 50-50? 50-50? Okay, let's say it's 50-50. तो ये 24,000 है. तो हम ये 24,000 में से top 4,000 को select करते हैं हमारा टेस्ट लेने के लिए. Right? We take 4,000 or 5,000 of them. And from this 4,000, we pick maybe, let's say, 400, right, to become Dakshana scholars. Or let's make the math easy. Let's say ये 480 है, right? तो ये जो 480 है, ये 48 lakhs से आ रहा है, right? Original तो 48 lakhs था, right? So this is 1 in 10,000. So 0.01%, right? अभी 1 in 10,000 लोग लेंगे तो IIT क्रैक होएगा ना, right? It is so heavily filtered. It is a 2-level filtering process, right? First level, JNV is cut to 1% over here. And then we are taking that 1% again, cutting to 1% of that, right? 1% of 1%. And I said, ये तो platter पे दे दिया है हमको, ये तो आनंद जी से भी अच्छा प्रोग्राम है. जैसे मैं बोला ना, एक दरवाज़ा बंद होता है, 3 दरवाजे खुल जाते हैं। कुछ साल बाद आनंद जी मेरे पास आए, आप हमारा इंट्रोडक्शन करा दीजिए ये JNV वालों से। आई सेड नो प्रॉब्लम, करा देंगे, आपको क्या करना है? ही सेड वो जो लोकल JNVs है ना, उधर से मैं कुछ बच्चे लेना चाहता हूँ। आई सेड नो प्रॉब्लम। सो आई इंट्रोड्यूस देम एंड देयर आर सम JNV kids who are going to, and we even did one more thing. We said after our kids finished in 12th standard, the ones who don't get to JNV, I said we can send them to take your test. If they want to join Super 30, they can join Super 30 for second attempt. उस टाइम पे दक्षिणा वैली नहीं था, right? Now what we do is, if you guys don't make it, you can try again. We can come to Dakshana Valley for one more year and try one more time. But basically, we sent many kids from Dakshina to Super 30. So it actually went the other way, right? I was trying to get him to help me. It ended up that we were helping him, right? So the way, it's just funny the way life works. And so basically, it started with my cousin. And it ended with you sitting here in Kottayam. So it worked pretty well. And then now let's look at it this way. Say there are 3 choices. मंदिर वालों को खाना खिलाना है, कैंसर हॉस्पिटल में इक्विपमेंट डालना है, या आपको IIT के लिए प्रिपेयर करना है. Which of the 3 choices is the best? ये तो आप अपना देख के बोल रहे हो. थोड़ा दुनिया के बारे में भी सोचो. Do you think that, so the reason we went to this program over the Mandir program or over the cancer hospital program is results are easy to measure. So we know every year we get a report card. कितने IIT गए, कितने NIT गए, कितने नहीं गए, we get a report card every year. We also can see when you finish IIT or NIT or whatever, what your pay is, right? So we can see that the average pay is so much, and if they had gone to some local college, it would have been so much lower. We can measure that delta. And we can see the benefit very clearly. Even in the cancer hospital, you can measure the result, because you can say 500 people did not die every year that would have died. So there's a measurement you can do. The Mandir program is impossible to measure. Okay? So Mandir ko to immediately reject kar do, because you cannot measure. Like one problem is people are there who should be working. So you are causing a negative problem. You're not helping, you're hurting. And the second is you are genuinely helping some people. But so, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. यहाँ पर मच्छी अच्छी है ना केरला में. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. I am not interested in feeding you for your whole life. I can only feed you for 2 years, right? And even I am not feeding you. Government of India is feeding you, right? I'm just providing you with a T-shirt and the faculties and the hat. Just 3 things, and the books. That's it. So basically, the idea was that this program generates very high returns to us. And now we have alumni who have finished our program, gone to IIT, started working. They are giving us money every year, which is much more than we ever spent on them. Abhi, each of you, we are spending maybe 1.5, 2 lakhs over a couple of years for each of you. कितने तो हमारे अलम्स हैं जो हमको उससे ज़्यादा हर साल पैसा देते हैं, right? And what will happen is that we don't even ask them, they do it on their own, right? And what will happen is that 10, 15, 20 साल में there will be 1 or 2% of these 480, let's say 1 or 2%, who will create businesses, who will create companies, and they will become very wealthy, much more wealthy than me. So, जब वो बहुत अमीर हो जाएंगे तो मैं उनको ज़रा शोल्डर पे टैप करूँगा. I said, आशीष, याद है आप JNV कोटायम में थे, याद है वो दिन Ashish said, yes, yes, sir. I remember. I said, Ashish, आधा पैसा दे दो. Of course, sir, no problem. So we will collect a large amount because they have the same problem as me. What is he going to do with the money? He's going to die. What is he going to do? He's going to die. Is he going to give it to his kids? No, that's bad. The kid will be drinking all day. Right? So Ashish has no choice. I just have to tell Ashish, Ashish, क्या करोगे? या तो मरने वाले हो. मर के बच्चों को दोगे तो तबाह हो जाएंगे. I have another plan for you. He'll say, yes sir, thank you for saving me. We'll take care of you. No problem. So अभी तक वो time नहीं आया है. अभी there are few of them who have started companies, but they will become very wealthy in 10, 20, 30 years. Some of them, like I think few of them left IIT. They didn't even finish a degree. They got funding for the startup. They left IIT. They started the company and they are doing well. So we will see. We'll see what happens. So that's the answer to that question. Maybe one more question. Next person.
I am Boda Sandeep from JNV Kottayam, Telangana. Sir, my question is, how should we develop ourselves right from the beginning to start our own startups, and what are the basic things that each and every person needed so that he can live a respectful person in this society? Thank you, sir.
Very good. अभी तेलंगाना से हैं और हैदराबाद नहीं गए. Have a seat. इधर आ गए. हैदराबाद में सीट नहीं दी दक्षिणा ने. It was the wrong year. That year there was no seat. Okay, but it's okay. Kerala is not bad. So actually ये जो फंडा है आपका, जैसे कंपनी शुरू करनी है ये वो, जब आप IIT NIT जाओगे ना, and when you have your classmates and all that, ये सब फंडे वो लोग आपको बता देंगे. मेरे को बताने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. So the main thing is you will find some thing that is missing, some app that is not there that should be there, and then 2-3 friends will get together. They will program that app. ऐप को आप एंड्रॉयड और एप्पल फ़ोन में लगा दोगे और बस फिर रेवेन्यू शुरू हो जाएगा. फिर IIT छोड़ देना एंड पाथ पे चल जाना. फिर जब 40-45 इयर्स हो जाएंगे मैं पहुंच जाऊंगा आपके पास, एंड देन वी विल हैव अ कॉन्वर्सेशन. बट एनीवे, इट्स was a lot of pleasure interacting with you. Please stay focused on your mission. And अभी स्टार्टअप वगैरह के सोचने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. PCM के बारे में सोचिए. And just focus on that and life will be good. So thank you very much. Okay, welcome to Dakshana. Good to be back in school. You know, pandemic से पहले स्कूल नहीं जाना होता है तो बहुत अच्छी बात थी. अभी सब बच्चे घर नहीं रहना चाहते हैं. They are sick and tired of seeing their parents. Were you sick and tired of being with your parents? Yes. It's very boring to be with the parents. Better to be in Navodaya, right? So welcome, and welcome to Dakshana, and I'm sorry you lost 6 months, but hopefully we'll get that covered up. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand. Make sure you tell me where you're from and your name, include your state. So first question. Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, sir. I am Sachin Kumar from JNV Azamgarh, State Uttar Pradesh. Sir, I am very excited to know why Kottayam is your favorite COE among all. Even there are many problems like language, food and many more.
यहाँ का खाना तो इतना बेहतरीन है. You don't like red rice? Red rice is good for you. What about the fish? No fish. चपाती बन रही है? तो चपाती तो है ना, and white rice भी मिल रहा है. So Kottayam is not my favorite JNV or my favorite COE. They are all the same to me. It's just that every year I come to this place in Kerala, which happens to be about 30 minutes from here. So if I'm coming here, might as well come to Kottayam. And अभी पता नहीं कितने साल हो गए मैं लखनऊ नहीं गया हूँ. उधर लल्ला की बिरयानी है. in the heart of the city. And kya lajawab kebab hai. So I am anxious to go to Lucknow, and I am anxious to go to Hyderabad and Bangalore and other locations. So now that pandemic is over, I can go to other JNV. So usually what happens is I am always able to come to Kottayam once a year. I might see you again in December. So you can have some new questions for me. But I am also hoping I'll be able to spend some more time in the other COEs. So it is not that this is my favorite. And I think one of the things you should keep in mind is many of you are from the Hindi belt, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Bihar, etc. And Kerala is a very advanced civilization. It's an advanced society. So the literacy rate here is the highest in India. And the people here have been very outgoing. Almost everyone in Kerala has a passport. Half the people in Jharkhand don't know what a passport is. So this society has gone abroad, Middle East, everywhere. They work very hard, they send money back. And you can see the way the place is, it has got more wealth than other parts of India. So I think it's a nice place. It's a good thing that you got exposed to this place. And some of you may want to live here. बाद में जब IIT वगैरह खत्म हो जाएगी, this is a nice place to be, on the ocean, right? So you can think about it. Next question.
Good morning, sir. I am Shankar Urao from JNV Lohardaga, State Jharkhand. Sir, I have two questions. My first question to you: how should we take decision before taking any step? Because, sir, I think it is important part of our life. Because wrong decision make wrong effects. And my second question to you: I would like to set up a company, and for this, what should I do?
Can you tell me the first question again? I didn't get it. What is the first question?
Sir, how should we take decision before taking any step?
Oh, how should we make the decision before taking any exam?
No, sir, any step. Just like I have two paths, and what I choose.
Oh, you're saying which path to take. Okay, have a seat. There's a English poet, I think this is his poem, it's Robert Frost. And the paths diverged, and he took the road less traveled, and that made all the difference. So when you face two paths, take the one that most people would not choose, because you will encounter less competition. And so that's generally a good idea. But the more important thing is to take the path that excites you. So you should have passion for whichever path you're taking. And in terms of starting a company, etc., what I would suggest is, उसके बारे में आप अभी मत सोचिए. You will get confused. Right now you have only one mission. Get to IIT. अगर IIT नहीं होता, get to NIT, get the career going. Later, what you can do when you are in third year in IIT, you can buy a book, or you can tell the library to get a book for you, and you can write down the name of the book. So the author, Amar Bhide, he is a IIT Bombay graduate. He used to be a professor at Harvard. And he wrote this book called The Origin and Evolution of New Businesses. And it has many interviews of people who started businesses, which became very successful. And they explain what went through their mind when they were starting, how they figured out what to do. And there are many, many examples. So if you study the book carefully, all your questions will be answered. लेकिन 2026 तक इसको छोड़ दो. Third year पे आ जाओ. फिर you can, maybe in the summer, you can read the book, and then you can take it from there. Next question.
Good morning, sir. I am Sharat Kumar MD from JNV Mysore, Karnataka. My question is, sir, how did get the idea of free IIT and NEET coaching came to your mind?
Okay, that's a good question. Basically, I think the issue with trying to help society and trying to make a difference is not easy. Giving money away effectively is harder than making it. And the big problem that comes up when you're trying to give money away effectively is it's very hard to measure outcomes. So, like for example, if there are some people who are very poor and very hungry sitting outside a temple, and some people give them food and feed them, they may be doing a good job, but how do you measure the impact of that? So to give you an example, that's something you can do that has some impact. You can also give money to, let's say, a cancer hospital. Help them buy equipment, hire doctors, get the right drugs. And that may cost maybe 10 crores. And it may save 500 lives a year. So you have spent 10 crores and you have saved 500 lives. So basically, 2 crores saved you 100 lives, and 2 lakhs, every 2 lakhs you spent saved 1 life, right? So that's pretty good. You spend 2 lakhs, you save 1 life. But if you take the same 10 crores, you can have 1 crore meals, 10 rupees a meal, for example. You can have 1 crore meals. And so you could feed a very large number of people for years with the 10 crores, right? So between the two systems, it becomes hard to tell which is better. Is it better to feed a lot of people, which is helping a large number of people, or the cancer hospital saving 500 lives? And or if you have a program like Dakshana, where we spend, let's say, 1.5, 2 lakhs per person for each of you, and we help you get a better career, better job, and all of that. So that has some benefit. The cancer hospital has some benefit. And one issue that comes up with the feeding people is it may cause a negative problem. So there could be people who could go get a job, but कोई खाना दे रहा है 3 बार तो क्यों लें नौकरी? बैठ जाओ, खाना खा लो, नौकरी करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. So it has a negative impact where some of those people could have worked, but now they are not working because they feel they are taken care of. So in that case, for some people, it has a negative impact on society, not creating a positive result, creating a negative result. So when we compare these 3 programs, the question I ask myself is, and there are hundreds of other choices, right? Polio vaccination, or giving malaria tablets, or improving infant mortality, there are 100 different things you could do. Which one or let's say, instead of spending in this program, to spend money in your village school, improve the school, right? So there are so many different choices. And the question becomes which choice For me, the question is which choice generates the highest return to society? That's what I would like to do, is that whatever money we spend has the highest return. And so for Dakshana, that 2 or 3 things become important. One is that whatever program we decide to do, results have to be measurable. If you cannot measure results, then you don't know how effective or ineffective your program is. So the mandir, feeding the mandir people is almost impossible to measure results, because we don't know whether we are even helping or hurting. There are too many variables we don't know anything about. And the second issue is that when we look at the program, which is JE prep and so on, because the IITs are free or almost free, we just have to spend the money for you to get in. Once you get in, उसके बाद loan मिल जाएगा, grant मिल जाएगा, जो भी है, you will clear on the other end. And because the government is spending so much money on the IITs, it makes the economics very attractive in terms of money we spend versus what happens to your family lifestyles and income long term. So that's why we picked the Dakshana program. Next question.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Rajan Deharia from Madhya Pradesh. My question is that, what would be the best career options in future for us after we pursue IIT?
Okay. So I think there are two things to keep in mind. One is that when you get admission in IIT, you may not get the field of study you want, right? Maybe you want to study computer science, and maybe you are getting textile engineering. ये तो problem हो गई है. So what you can do, which a lot of your seniors have done, they don't take IIT. They take NIT and get the field they want, which is, I think, pretty okay choice. So first is that, you have to understand, don't pick the field you want to study based on what pays the most money or what is going to give you the easiest to get a job. You should pick the field that you have the most interest in, whether or not it is hot or not. And if you don't get that field in IIT, you should look at other colleges, NIT, etc. And if you do something that you are really excited about doing, then you will do it well. And if you do it well, the chances are you will be quite successful. So it's very important not to, okay, सब computer science ले रहे हैं तो मैं भी computer science ले लूँगा, या सब ये TCS join कर रहे हैं मैं भी TCS join कर लेता हूँ. I think that's the wrong way to make a decision. The right way to make a decision is to ask yourself, what do you really enjoy and what do you want to do and who do you want to work with and all those things. And even if the pay is lower, go for that. So that's always a better way to go. Next question.
Myself, Suhadeep Singh from West Bengal. My question is that why ST/SC students are more in Dakshina?
Okay. Are you SC/ST?
Yes, sir. I am ST.
तो अच्छा है ना आपके लिए? Isn't it good that Dakshana is helping you?
Yes.
Are you SC or ST?
ST.
ST. So basically, the situation is that JNVs have a quota. मैंने तो नहीं बनाया ना quota. Quota है. And IITs have a quota. वो भी मैंने नहीं बोला, इन्होंने खुद ही कर दिया. So it would be somewhat stupid of Dakshana to ignore the quotas, because the quotas exist. Not only do they exist in JNV and IITs, they exist in Bharat Heavy Electricals, the PSUs. They also have quota. सब जगह quota है. So now the question comes up, are quotas good for India? Or are quotas bad for India? And lots of people have lots of opinions on that, right? My opinion is that I've lived in the United States for a long time. I've been in the US for 38 years, most of my life. And the United States had slavery. So they brought in these slaves from Africa. And in 1863, slavery was abolished. So there was no longer any slavery. But the average income of black Americans was much lower than the average income of white Americans. And from 1863 to now, it has been about 159 years since slavery ended. Even today, there's a differential, significant differential between black Americans and white Americans in terms of average income. So the United States launched in the 1960s something known as affirmative action, which is their version of the SC/ST quotas. So what they said is that like colleges will give priority to African Americans, and they have various programs to try to help, like when governments are giving contracts, they're giving some preference to minorities and those sorts of things. And those programs, for the most part, have helped. They have helped reduce the gap, but the gap is still there. And many people now believe that they should get rid of everything, just make it even. I don't agree with that because the gap is still there, and African Americans used to be discriminated against. So what used to happen is, if they are trying to buy a house in a white neighborhood, the lender may not give them money, or the seller may not sell to them, or the realtor may not show the house to them. It was difficult for them. So the system is not even, okay? In India, with the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, there has been a lot of progress for the scheduled caste. Scheduled caste average per capita incomes and different things have gone up quite a bit. And they've gone up because there have been all these support the government has given. You know, you can get a seat in JNV, you can get a seat in IIT, you can get a public sector bank to hire you. All those things have raised their income. Scheduled tribes have hardly moved. So scheduled caste का सुधार हो गया है country में. Scheduled tribes का ज़्यादा अभी तक कुछ नहीं हुआ है. So the programs that have worked for the scheduled castes have not worked so far very well for the scheduled tribe. And the reason is that when you look at the tribes, you know, you go to the tribal belt of Jharkhand, etc. वो तो third standard तक नहीं पढ़ सकते हैं, right? It's a really backward system. They cannot even get into JNV, even with the quota. They don't even know when the JNV test is and all that, you know. So there is a lot of, now the scheduled tribe has some issues, like the Meenas in Rajasthan. It's a rich tribe. Many people feel they should not have quota. So these systems are not perfect. So there are tribes that get benefit when a lot of people feel that inka to they already have plenty of resources. They don't need the help. So there are issues. I don't think scheduled caste, scheduled tribe issue is a clean issue. It is a very muddied issue because there are some areas and sectors should not get help. And there are clearly other areas. I mean, like if I go to Andaman Nicobar Islands, for example, there are 2 JNVs in those islands. When the children go to vacation, when they leave the school, they take out all their clothes. They go naked because they are living naked. They don't wear clothes normally, okay? The JNV told them when you enter the school, you have to wear clothes. Okay, so when they come to the school, right at the school gate, that's when they put the uniform and go in. Pura tribal hai. They need help, right? In my opinion, the government should help those people. Because to get them to the point where they are at the same level as the rest of India will take a long time. And so but there are other tribes where, so I think when you go to these tribal belts in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand and these places, a lot of help is needed. And so I believe that what the government is doing is the right thing. Now, all government programs have a lot of issues. So then you come to Dakshana, okay? So what Dakshana is interested is, our interest is that are we doing the best we can for society with the money we are spending? That's what we care about. I don't really care about the SC, ST or disabled or whatever. What I really care about is, are we doing the most good? So we did a few things in Dakshana. One thing we did was, we said, okay, if you are disabled, so there is a 3% quota IITs have for disabled, right? Some of you are disabled here. If you are disabled, we said, we will not look at income at all. Because India mein disabled people are not treated well. They are treated poorly. So I said, Dakshana will try to do more for the disabled to bridge that disparity. And the other thing about disabled is, कि अगर आपके टांग में प्रॉब्लम है, for example, you can be a very good programmer. Your foot has nothing to do with your ability to work in an office. So many of the jobs you will be looking for, the issues you may have will not be an issue, right? Even if you're in a wheelchair, it's okay. So we want to help the disabled, and there's a quota for IITs for disabled, and we want to do that. Now, SC, ST also, IITs have a quota, right? For SC, STs to get into IIT is a lot easier than general OBC, a lot easier. And we feel that especially for the STs, we are doing the right thing. Because JNV is, because they are pulling from every block and every district, they are able to pull STs from very deep remote areas of India. And they are actually able to uplift them, right? So, अभी वो जब 10th तक आ गए हैं, तो फिर हम भी थोड़ा सहारा दे देंगे उनको, थोड़ा push कर लेंगे, so they can get to IIT. And what we have found is that once you are in a computer science classroom in IIT Bombay, the professor does not care whether you are SC, ST or whatever. Test same होने वाला है, marks same होने वाले हैं, grading. So the category kids are going to have harder time, right? Because they did not have the same level to get in. But what we have noticed in our data is सब graduate हो जाते हैं. And what we've also noticed is some really smart kids who are general OBC, they get so burnt out getting to IIT that IIT जाके relax करते हैं. तो उनका GPA is not very high. And some SC, ST kids who got in work really hard, and the GPA, in fact, some of our SC, ST kids have done so well, they got to IAS and all that, and they did really well. Even in industry, they have done well. So they have been able to uplift themselves. So what we have found is that when the students are graduating, the differences are reduced. The difference is pretty wide when they enter IIT. But when they leave, the difference is reduced quite a bit. There's still a difference. Average GPA of category kids will be lower than average GPA of general OBC. But नौकरी सबको मिल जाती है. So our issue is upliftment of poverty. So you cannot optimize two variables in an equation. You can only optimize one variable. You can maximize only one variable. For Dakshana, the variable we want to maximize is alleviation of poverty. That's the variable we are most focused on. We don't particularly care that the person getting IIT seat is less smart than someone else who didn't get a seat. That's not my problem. That's government policy. Okay? What I care about is that we get someone a seat in IIT, is that person going to get a job, and is he going to be productive in society? And if that is the case, then we are fine. We have alleviated poverty. So we are not concerned with many other things. We are concerned with alleviation of poverty. And in India, I think the SC quota should get reduced. They should gradually reduce, maybe eventually eliminate or become very small. ST should be increased because ST still need a lot of help. Disabled, I think 3% is fine. That's okay. But those are not choices we control. We have to work within the system. And so that is the choice we have made within what we are trying to do. Next question.
Good morning, sir. Myself Shobhan Mandal. I am from West Bengal. Sir, I have some interest in aerospace engineering, and I want to know that what should I do if I cannot get into an IIT?
Okay. Are you interested in ISRO?
Yes, sir, obviously.
Okay, and then वो यहाँ पर केरला में जो institute है for avionics, what is that called? There's a IIST. Have you heard of IIST?
No, sir.
You have not heard. Thiruvananthapuram में है, I think. Indian Institute of Space Technology. They take the IIT result, right? तो जब आप JEE दोगे और फिर advance दोगे, please go and try to get admission in IIST. A number of our alums have gone there. Then they have gone to ISRO. Now they are firing rockets from the Bay of Bengal. Do you know why India sends the rockets from offshore on the Bay of Bengal? Why don't they send the rockets from Kerala? Why are they going to Bay of Bengal? So the rockets are sent about 10 kilometers offshore off the coast of Orissa. Why? Why are they using that location? Safety purpose. तो 10 किलोमीटर केरला के बाहर चले जाओ, वो भी safe है. You can go 10 kilometers into the sea anywhere and launch. The reason they go to Orissa is because the differential in low tide and high tide is very wide. So that shoreline is a very gradual increase in depth. So even at 10 kilometers, the depth is 3 feet. It's a very gradual. And when the low tide is there, वो पूरा land है. तो वो low tide में ले जाते हैं अपने launcher को, and they fire because there is no humans there. In Kerala, they cannot do that. यहाँ पर तो Arabian Sea है, ऐसा कोई system नहीं है. तो इसीलिए Kalam Saab used to go there to fire the rocket. Sometimes they landed in the Bay of Bengal itself, but most of the time they found their target. So, since you want to go to Odisha, which is close to Bengal, and the food is so much better than here. Is the food better? No. You like this food? No. Which food do you like? Bengal. तो वही ना, आप बंगाल के पास ही होंगे ना लॉन्चिंग के लिए. आप वेजिटेरियन हैं? तो यहाँ भी मच्छी है, वहाँ भी मच्छी है. Which fish is better? I think Kerala fish is okay. No, sir, they don't know how to make fish. You know what is my favorite dish? My favorite dish is Bengali mustard fish curry. I make it once a week in US. And it is the best. बहुत मज़ा आता है खाना का. And अभी मैं सोच रहा हूँ, I just moved to another place in Texas, that I'm going to hire a chef. And the chef is going to be trained by me to make my mustard fish. And my Bengali friends taught me how to make that fish. All Punjabi food is useless. Only the Bengali food is good. And you know what is best about the Bengali food is the desserts. Forget the food, the dessert. Are you missing the desserts?
Yes, sir.
Roshogola.
Yes, sir.
How's the Roshogola over here?
No, sir.
Not available. Cake mila aaj. Was there any cake given to them?
Yes, no.
Oh, after this, which you like, cake or Roshogola?
Roshogola, sir.
Cake नहीं अच्छा है. थोड़ा cake खा लो यार. What about the sandesh? Do you like the sandesh?
Yes.
All your classmates don't even know what sandesh is. Have you told them what sandesh is?
Yes.
Okay. So I really miss Bengali. You know, I tell Dakshana, एक कोलकाता के बाहर JNV location लगा दो, so I can go there and just enjoy the food. कोई मेरी बात नहीं सुनता है. Should we put a COE in Bengal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Will the food be good?
Yes.
You know, I went to Dakshana scholar homes all over Bengal a few years back, and I told them all, when I'm coming, only make fish for me. And the fish was so good. And they made so many different kinds of fish for me. It was really good. Anyway, I'm sorry to digress, but let's get back to your question. So, मैंने उनको बोला गीता पढ़ लो. मैं आपको बोलने वाला हूँ कि just remember this thing from the Upanishads. So, as is your wish, so is your will. मैं ट्रांसलेट कर रहा हूँ, इंग्लिश में नहीं बोला था उपनिषद ने. And as is your will, so is your deed. Do you know what deed is? What you do, your task. As is your deed, so is your destiny. And then the punchline of all of this is your deepest desire is your destiny. Do you understand destiny? What does this mean? Your deepest desire is your destiny. जो आपके मन में सबसे ज़्यादा इच्छा है, that is going to come true. You cannot have two ichhas. If you have two ichhas, सब तबाह हो जाएगा. Only one goal and one dream. The dream now is no longer aerospace, and it is not Bengali fish. The dream is IIST. Please talk to Ravi, and when you finish here, go to IIST and meet the Dakshana alums over there. So, as is your wish, so is your will. So, whatever you are dreaming of, that becomes your willpower to proceed. As is your will, so is your deed. So, जो आपका मन में है, वो ही आप करोगे. And then, as is your deed, so is your destiny. Once you set that thing, it's going to happen. And then, your deepest desire is your destiny. If you really want something, it will happen. How badly do you want it? Do you want it tan, man, dhan ke saath? Then it will happen. Okay, next question. ये 2500 साल पहले उन्होंने फंडे क्रैक कर लिए हैं. मेरे को पूछने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Go straight to the Upanishads. I am just doing topa from Upanishad. I have no ideas. And I am just doing topa from the Gita. Go ahead.
Good morning, sir. I am Tirupati from JNV Warangal, Telangana. Sir, my question to you is, what made you to take decision like Dakshana Foundation only for Navodayans?
So, should we throw out all the Navodayans and go for the others? No, sir. नहीं, but बाकी इंडिया का भी सुधार करना है ना. तो नवोदय तो बहुत छोटा सिस्टम है. मेरे ख्याल से इनको निकाल देते हैं. And we can go to mainstream India. What do you say?
I mean that there are so many central organizations like Kendriya Vidyalayas and Sainik schools.
Yeah.
You choose Navodayas.
Yeah. So please have a seat. So, you know, sometimes I visit Dakshana scholars in their homes, different parts of India. Bengal is very good because the food is so good. Some other parts of India, the food is not so good. But I still have to go. Chakki piso, you know. So, but it's okay. So the thing is that when I go to these scholar homes, I visit one home. Then we finish the visit, and then I'm telling the driver, go to the next home. From one home to next home, sometimes it's 70 kilometers. Okay? And बीच में इतना सारा पॉवर्टी है, इतने सारे बच्चे हैं जो स्कूल नहीं जा रहे हैं, कुछ नहीं हो रहा है उनका, तो मैं सोचता हूँ क्या कर रहे हो आप? ये एक घर गए, फिर 70 किलोमीटर तक कुछ नहीं हुआ, फिर दूसरे घर गए, फिर 70 किलोमीटर तक कुछ नहीं हुआ, तीसरे घर गए. The impact is so low. And then I'm looking at these kids who are running around naked. I said, uska kya hoega? He doesn't even, parents don't even know there is JNV. He's not going to take the test in 5th standard. So he's all ruined. Doesn't matter how smart that kid is. He is not going to go anywhere, he or she, right? Because they can't even enter Navodaya. They don't even know that Navodaya exists. So many of you, some teacher took interest, someone took interest, that's why you took the test. Otherwise, your parents may not even know to take the test, right? How many of your parents knew about Navodaya when you were born? Raise your hand if your parents knew about your Navodaya when you were born. Or when you were in 1st standard, 3rd standard, 5th standard. So 5th standard tak thoda knowledge aa gaya, but because somebody's school, someone told them something, right? Otherwise, you don't even know. So we are taking kids who are not from Navodaya after 12th in Dakshana Valley. But the problem we face is that, see, Navodaya mein hamara system bahut easy hai. Because this is what happens in Navodaya. I'm going to erase this. Did you put this to memory? Did you memorize it? Will you be able to come to the board and write it later? I didn't get a yes. Okay. Not a resounding yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. So देखिए जब JNV ST test होता है, I'm going to use round numbers. Let's say 48 lakhs students take the test. It's about 40 lakhs, but let's say 48 lakhs. मैं अपनी सुविधा के लिए थोड़ा कर रहा हूँ. There are 600 JNVs. Let's say each is 80. Some are 40, but let's say each is 80. This is 48,000. Okay? 1 out of 100 kids will get admission in JNV from the JNV ST. Right? 48 lakhs, 48,000. 1 out of 100, 1%. अभी जब ये 48,000 10th standard में आते हैं, Dakshana shows up and tests 480 of them. Actually, not tests. I'm skipping one step. We test 4,800, top 10%, right? And from 4,800, we pick 480, right? So 480 is 1% of 48,000, right? And 48,000 is 1% of 48 lakhs. So what is Dakshana doing? We are taking 1% of 1%. This is 0.01%. 1 out of 10,000. Right? आप लोग बहुत unusual लोग हैं. Like if I was a student, I will never get admission in Dakshana. They will never take some idiot like me. Because I am not 1 in 10,000. So 1 out of 10,000 we are taking, right? तो फिर जब हम IIT में भेजते हैं 70-80% को IIT सीट मिल जाती है. Because ये तो बहुत solid filtering है, right? There is a 2-step filtering process going on. It makes sure that we get very high results into IIT, right? Now what we are noticing is when we take kids who are not from JNV, then Dakshana is having a lot of problems. Let me explain to you the problems. If I could, I would only take kids from Navodaya because it's so easy for us. Now, when I take kids from a normal government school, उधर तो कोई filtering हुआ नहीं है, कोई भी एरा गहरा पहुंच गया है उधर. So, we tested 12,000 kids last year who are not from JNV. Now, these 12,000 are coming from normal schools everywhere, right? And from this number, we got 80 students. Okay, so ये 12,000 को टेस्ट करने के लिए it cost us for these 80, it costs 1.5 lakhs per student for me to just find the children. Okay, तो ये 80 ढूंढने के लिए हमारा 1.2 crores चले गए पैसे ये 80 ढूंढने के लिए. When I get 480 from Navodaya, it's costing me less than 1,000 rupees per kid to find them, less than 1,000. Here it's costing me 150 times that, because it's all over India, it's in remote areas, and we will go to 10 schools, and one kid out of 10 or 20 schools will qualify. But we have to send people to all those schools, we have to do all the testing, all of that. So, with these 80 kids, what happens is, 1.5 लाख तो चला गया बस ढूंढने में, अभी तक कोचिंग नहीं शुरू हुई है. Okay? For the Navodaya kids, for JNV kids, it costs us 1,000 rupees per kid to find you and test you and all that. And then we spend, let's say, rupees 1.5 lakhs per kid. Over 2 years. So like 75,000 per year. Okay? तो ये तो सिस्टम ठीक है. अभी यहाँ पर क्या होता है, 1.5 लाख तो लग गया, फिर plus another 1.5 lakhs. Because now we have to provide boarding, lodging, and coaching, because they are after 12th, right? So we have to spend another 1.5 lakh. So now this is 3 lakhs. So it is twice as expensive. But I cannot have 80-kilometer distance. So I told Dakshana, chalne do aise. We will pay more money and we will try, we need to increase this number. If this number 80 increases to 800, then this will start going down, right? Because we'll get, the cost is the same to reach out. It's just that we need to get more yield. And, you know, Dakshana is a non-profit, but we are not a non-profit. We are a hardcore dhanda business. We look at the numbers and we look at which way we can get the most input-output ratio. So I look at these things all the time. And I'm saying, okay, how can we reduce this? How can we reduce this? How can we increase this? And we are trying to do all those things. So, last question. We have run out of questions. So, anyone can ask anything. Raise your hand. कुछ 5 minutes है. Go ahead. Let's get a mic. पहले परिचय तो दे दीजिए, आप कहाँ से हैं?
सर मेरा नाम पंकज ऋषि है, मैं बिहार से.
Okay, go ahead now.
अगर आप ना होते तो आईआईटी का ख्वाब ना होता. अंधेरों से निकलने की सिर्फ आस ही होता. सपना बस सपना ही बना रहता. उनको पाने की कभी प्यास न जाता. जब से मिला है साथ आपका, हौसलों में शान एवं पंखों में उड़ान आया है. मन में उम्मीदों की कतार सजाया हूँ. आईआईटी तो क्या, उनसे भी बड़ा अरमान सजाया हूँ। हम जैसे परिंदों के आसमान हो आप, हमारे सपनों की जान हो आप। यूँ तो औरों के लिए नेक इंसान हो आप, लेकिन हमारे लिए तो भगवान हो आप।
All right. ये इन्होंने लक्ष्मण रेखा बनाई है, मैं क्रॉस करने वाला हूँ, थोड़ा चेंज कर लो एंगल ताकि हम क्रॉस कर करें. थैंक यू वेरी मच. दैट वाज वंडरफुल. डू यू लाइक टू डू पोएट्री? शायरी में इंटरेस्ट है आपका? इंटरेस्ट जमा के रखिए. Okay, don't give up the interest. All right, that was a very wonderful note to end our session. What do you say? So it was great to hang out with you. Are we going to do some pictures now, Ravi? Where are we going? Assembly Hall. Okay, we'll see you there. Thank you.
Az juday hai shikayat